On today's video blog, I'm going to talk about one part of your body and how to keep it warm. And one of the hardest parts to keep warm for me has always been my boots. And just recently I had a question on the Ask Winke about my footwear system. So I thought I would just go through that real quick. These are all Cabela's boots, and I'm going to walk you through the whole season and the different temperature ranges when I wear the different type of boot. This one on the far left, my far left, is the Whitetail Extreme 600 gram Thinsulate boot. This is the one I wore almost this entire season so far, all through October and November. I mean, it's not so warm that you can't be comfortable when it's 70 degrees out, but it's also got some insulation so that when it's 50 degrees or 40 degrees, it's a pretty comfortable boot. And I would wear that one with high temperatures in the 40s or higher. I tend to get cold feet, and the longer you sit, the more the cold seeps in. So you have to have warmer gear than what you think if you're going to plan a long sit. So you might think that that's overkill, 600 grams of Thinsulate on a 45 degree day. I guarantee it's not if you're going to be there for very long. That cold is going to seep in. So then anything below about the 45 degree range, I'm going to get into a 1200 gram Thinsulate boot. And these are some Cabela's boots. I can't remember which exact style this is. I looked for them real quick on the website and didn't see them, but I'm sure if I did a little bit more exhaustive search, I could find them. But this is 1200 gram Thinsulate. They make the Whitetail Extreme boot in the 1200 gram Thinsulate as well. So if you're looking for, you know, a 600 and a 1200, you can get this style in both the 600 and the 1200. And that's going to get me down to probably the mid 30s, you know, the 35 to 45 range, 30 to 45 range for high temperatures. You know, obviously your lows on those days are typically going to be colder, but in the mornings you're walking in, you know, so your feet kind of have a way to stay warm when it's really cold. As the day goes on, that's when the cold seeps in. So that's why I'm focusing on the high temps. So a 35 degree, 30 degree day, this is the boot that I'm after, maybe even up to, you know, 45 degrees. Just keep my feet a little bit warmer for those longer sits. Now anything below that, for me, is sort of like guerrilla warfare when it gets cold. No holds barred. I'm going for the absolute warmest boots I can find. And that's where these boots here come in. These are the Cabela Saskatchewan. And we were talking, Zach and I, about, you know, what are some tricks, or I could give some tricks for how to stay warm. And I said, well, the trick is to come up with $250 because that's the only real challenge between having warm feet when it's really cold or not having warm feet when it's really cold. I mean, you can get, I'm sure, heated insoles or different types of products like that. I've tried them over the years. Some of them work. I've never found any that really work great. I'm not saying that there's not some out there, but for me, this thing has worked well. This solution has worked well every single time. And I'm talking about some cold days, you know, where your wind chills are in the -10 to -15, even colder. These boots have done great. And there's lots of insulation between the bottom of your foot and whatever you're standing on, whether it's the ground or a tree stand. Heavily insulated between your foot and the surface that you're standing on. And that's important because when you stand on anything, you compress that insulation down and it becomes less effective. And that's why when you're standing on the tree stand, your feet get colder than when you're sitting. When you're sitting, other parts of your body tend to get colder and your feet tend to warm up a little bit because now you're allowing that insulation in the boot to expand back out again and you know, become more efficient. So you want to have something that does a really good job on the bottom part of the footbed, and that's what the Saskatchewans do. There's a lot of insulation. There's 3 layers of insulation on the bottom and then a real nice felt insert on the rest of the boot. So that one is definitely one to take a look at if you get cold feet. Now, the socks. I'm sure there's different systems out there. I used to wear a liner sock, real thin polypropylene liner sock, and then a wool sock over that. But all I wear now is just this medium weight Ultimax, which is another Cabela's product, the Ultimax wool. It's just a mid-weight wool sock. It's the same one I wear in all three of these. So the boot itself has the insulation that makes the difference. I don't just bulk up more socks. Some people think they should get an uninsulated boot and just put more socks on when it gets colder, but that really does defeat the purpose, because one of the things that keeps your feet warm is the circulation of blood through your feet. And as soon as you start putting a lot of socks on and cramming your feet down into a pair of boots, you end up squeezing those blood vessels that are near the surface of your feet down, so that they're not transporting as much blood, and you tend to get colder feet quicker. That's why a lot of times when I get to the tree stand, I'll even loosen the strings on the upper part of the boot, so that you get better flow of blood in and out of your feet. So that's important, and just having some nice thin socks that allow your feet room to move around inside, so you're not all bunched up in there where it's going to restrict the circulation of the blood. I think that's, obviously we can talk about all the other parts of the body and what I do to keep those warm, but we'll start here and we'll just kind of expand outward from here as we go through the late season. I'll try to create another one of these at some point where I talk about the layers that I wear. Hopefully you gained a little bit of insight into some of the things that I do to keep my feet warm and keep me comfortable and on stand longer.